Good evening, everybody. To be able to come back together with everybody and study the Bible and look at things. But before we get into that, we need to go over some announcements that need to be made. I do have some here on my phone. I want to go ahead and get read so that I don't forget. I feel like if I do those first, then we do pretty good. If I do those first, then I don't forget. So this is news from Monday. Starting on Monday, I sent out a notification about Joe Dyson. This is Yvonne's son. He did have a car accident on his way to pick up his kids, and the roads were wet. It was raining, and the car he didn't anticipate a turn, I believe, and he banged himself up pretty bad. Yvonne said he had his knee was messed up, his foot's messed up, and he had a bandage over his head. So he's pretty banged up right now. He needs our prayers, and Yvonne needs our prayers. She called me and she said, please pray for him, but pray for me too, because I got to take care of him and while I'm taking care of myself. And I said, yes, ma'am, I sure will. I know that's tough. And when I asked her if she needed anything, she said, no, just prayers, that's all. And so she's toughing it out, I guess. And so I'm gonna call and check on her in the morning to make sure everything's still good and see if she might need anything. Something that we did add to the schedule that's not going to be on our bulletin from Sunday, but will be on the ones from following. We are beginning our routine potluck once a month on May, and that is depending on the circumstances of the community. If we see a high in the numbers, that is subject to change. We might take a month off or, wait and see. But it's just one of those things that we're going to play by ear, but we are going to go ahead and put it back in the schedule as something that we're going to routinely do on the last Sunday of each month. So our first one will be on May 30th. I'm anticipating some deer steak, and I'm excited about some fellowship with everybody. So, and some sugar-free banana pudding, I'm sure I'm going to have a spoon of that. But we need to also pray for Leroy Hudson of the Blanchard Church of Christ. He is having surgery Thursday morning, tomorrow morning at Willis Knight in Piermont. So as we keep those people in our prayers, we also have some that we have on the announcements that need to be named. We need to pray for all of those who are affected by the virus. Pray for the families of the ones who have lost loved ones. We added the Stafford family on Sunday because of little James and his medical issues. We need to keep him in our prayers as they're dealing with that. They've got to get his weight up. That's what he was telling me. He said that the formula that they've got to get now is different from what he's been on, because it's going to be double or triple the amount of protein that he has been taking in just to try to get that weight up. So it's going to be about $100 more a month. And so he was asking prayers on that. Also, we need to pray for the community, those who are serving in our communities, as well as those who are here in our congregation serving and who do so many things for us. And that'd be Donna Sindel. We need to pray for her and her medical conditions. We need to pray for Annette Todd. Keep Herschel Bearden lifted up in our prayers, that the missions will go well and his health issues will be able to balance themselves out so he can do what he needs to do or what he desires to do for the Lord. We continue to pray for Myrna Bethany with her health issues. Gary Morgan, Nick Robinson, Mary Lou Schaffner, Louise Jackson, Jamie Burnside, Nick Ryan, Robert Dooley, Jeffrey Tilley, John Hellriegel, and Kenny Bruce. Now, my latest information that I have on Jeffrey is that he has moved home, and he's not in the hospital anymore, but that he is, that they're going to try some things. So that transition usually from the hospital back to home, there's some complications that arise there as well. So we just keep him in our prayers while this is going on for him. And need to continue to pray for those who are shut in. Yvonne Dyson, Tommy Harvey, Virgie Lindsay, Douglas Singleton, Ruth Stanford, Diane Teal, as well as Eva Mae Modisett, Rosemary Price, Kenneth Franklin, and Annette Todd. As far as our prayer requests go, that is all that I have, but we do need to remember the item for the Christian home this week is floss sticks. We have a birthday. I believe that's tomorrow. Brian Griffin's birthday will be on the 22nd, so we make sure we can, if we can get in contact with him, let him know that we wish him a happy birthday. Also, there's some upcoming announcements that need to be made. The gospel singing on April 23rd at Plain Dealing will be held from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. There will be some refreshments there. Heather said that she touched base with Melissa, and they're going to have some finger foods and some snacks and little sweets and stuff like that. So that'll be good. And like I said, if we can come out and have that time of fellowship, I know that they'll greatly appreciate it and we'll be uplifted by it. It's been such an awesome thing to start seeing things come back into rotation. And speaking of that, we got the Fount Gospel meeting also between the dates of May 16th and through the 19th. And then Madison Dooley's graduation is May 1st at 5 p.m. at Mike and Amanda's house. Please let somebody know if you're going to be able to come so that we can make arrangements and everything. But I think there was it you said RSVP and then bring your own chair. If you come, bring your own lawn chair. As far as everything else, that's all I have at this time. And if there's no other announcements, we'll turn things over to the song leader. I'll get my area cleaned up somewhat for you.
You would turn to 587.
You ain't going up there.
No. 587. If the skies above you are gray, you are feeling so blue. If your cares and burdens seem great all the whole day through, there's a silver lining that shines in the heavenly land. Look by faith and see it, my friend. Trust in His promises grand. Sing and be happy, press on to the goal. Trust in Him, through into peace will keep your soul. Let the world be faithful, look to Jesus and Him and pray. Lift your voice and praise Him in song. Sing and be happy today. All we fail to see the rainbow up in heaven's fair sky. When it sings the fortunes of earth, round and matchless cloud. There are things we know that are worth more than silver and gold. If we hope and trust in each day, we shall have pleasure untold. Sing and be happy, press on to the goal. Trust in Him to lead to peace will seek your soul. Let the world be faithful, look to Jesus and pray. Lift your voice
590. After this song, we'll ask Brother Michael open us up for open prayer. Jesus is all the world to me, my life, my joy, my all. He is my strength from day to day. Without him I would fall. When I am sad, to him I go. No other one can cheer me so. When I am sad, he makes me glad. He's my friend. Jesus is all the world to me. I want no better friend. I trust him now. I trust him when life's fleeting days shall end. Beautiful life with such a friend. Beautiful life that has no end. Eternal life, eternal joy. He's my friend.
Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight, Heavenly Father, and we just ask you, Heavenly Father, to be with this congregation, Heavenly Father, just be with each of those that are unable to be here tonight, Heavenly Father, comfort them as you can. And Heavenly Father, if it's a reason that, for whatever reason they haven't been able to make it, Heavenly Father, we just ask that you may prick their hearts, that they may return and be a faithful servant back to thee. Heavenly Father, there are many within the congregation that are members, Heavenly Father, we also have family and friends that are sick at this time. We just ask that you continue to be with each of them, Heavenly Father. Be with those that are taking care of them, Heavenly Father. Be with those that are in the nursing homes, Heavenly Father. Be with those that are still out with COVID quarantine, Heavenly Father. Just be with each of them. Be with them, especially, Heavenly Father, that are away from their families and friends at this time due to the quarantine, away from us, Heavenly Father, congregation, let them know that they are there, Heavenly Father. Just continue to be with them. Be with this country, Heavenly Father. There's a lot of strife still in this country where it's divided, Heavenly Father. We just ask that you continue to be with our leaders. Hopefully, Heavenly Father, they can set aside their political views and do what's right for the country, Heavenly Father. We just ask you to be with us with this as we go through this hour, Heavenly Father, that we may learn more about that will and no word and go over this lost country, Heavenly Father, and hopefully return back to be a true and faithful country as we should be, Heavenly Father, before it's too late. God, guard and direct us and be with us until the next point in time. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Good, mark your book at 916. 916, the song of courage. We go and close.
I do. Can they see it? Yeah, thank you. I'll get myself situated. We're talking about the books of history this class. And so, as you can see on the board there, that's the books that we're going to have to cover. I'm going to have to skim. I'm going to get you some more information, though, by Sunday, as far as printouts and things like that. Some of the things that we're not able to necessarily discuss all at once tonight, we'll be able to have handouts and information for later for our own personal study. Trying to find everything. Does that look okay? Is that legible up there? Can y'all read it fairly good? Saw Brother Huey kind of squinting at it, and I thought, well, maybe I didn't put it up there.
No, it's fine.
It's good? Okay. Good deal. All righty. The 12 books of history, that would be Joshua, Judges, Rules, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther. We're only going to be able really to get through to Ruth as far as talking about those books. So there is a little bit of time that we have this week. We're only going to be able to go from number 20 down to number 31. So if you will, look at your books and we'll go, I guess, just straight down from there, from number 20 down through 31. Joshua, when we look at the book of Joshua tells about the taking of. And now, I want us to kind of go through this, and as we go through this, I am going to have some things to say. Let's talk about Joshua the man for just a minute. Not the book, but the man Joshua. Joshua was the son of Nun, and that's not N-O-N-E, that's N-U-N, the son of Nun. He was one also of the faithful spies that were sent out from Kadesh Barnea. And do you remember how many there were that were sent out? In all, there were 12. It was one from each tribe. When they came back, there were only 2 that came back with good report. Everybody else was, I guess, scared for their life, you know. But yeah, this was, he accompanied Caleb. It was Joshua and Caleb. Joshua and Caleb were the only 2 that came back with the better report. He was also, he played a role after Moses. Moses delivered the Israelites out of bondage and led them through the wilderness. But at the end of Moses' life, Moses elected Joshua kind of as his predecessor, the one that would come after him and follow God by leading the Israelite people. And so, yeah, he was kind of Moses' successor. When we look through the book of Joshua, Joshua is one of my favorite books. As I told you before, I had a study of the land of Jericho. I think we talked about that last Wednesday, and I talked about a report that I had to do and that sort of thing. Well, Jericho was involved in that. It might have been Sunday that we talked about it. I can't remember the last time. I just know it's been recent. But yeah, that's where you read about Jericho for the most part, and the fall of Jericho. So there's a lot of history there, and you'll see in Joshua 6 where the fall took place. But there's some things that we need to note about that book. We see Rahab and the spies, the crossing of the Jordan. We see the fall of Jericho, the land conquered and divided, and then the death of Joshua. Now let's go back over here and let's talk about who was it that took Moses' place. He was the predecessor. This would have been Joshua, his successor. But number 23, events in Joshua are again Rahab and the spies. I think I have a slide for that. I'm sorry. Rahab and the spies, crossing of the Jordan, fall of Jericho, the land was conquered and then divided amongst the tribes. We see the death of Joshua. Joshua 24:15. I say that one a lot. Does anybody know what Joshua 24:15 is without looking?
choose this day whom you will serve.
Yeah, that's
As for
that.
me and my house, we will serve.
Amen. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Joshua gives a commission to the people of Israel about following after false gods and foolishness. And he says, you've got a choice to make. Choose you this day. Who is it going to be that you're going to serve? And if you don't, and he said, as for me and mine, we will serve the Lord. I love that. That is a wonderful, wonderful sentiment to remember. And as the spiritual leader of my home, I often am reminded of that verse when making decisions, especially ones that might benefit us or not, the opposite of benefit when it comes to spiritual matters. So yeah, when you're making decisions like that, you hear those verses like that. Who are you going to serve? Who are you going to serve? And I think about that probably every day I wake up. I made a decision a long time ago to remind myself on a daily basis that I'm either going to serve the world or I'm going to serve the Lord. And I choose to serve the Lord. I absolutely choose it. And I remind myself of that every day.
Jonathan?
Yes, sir.
Joshua said on that occasion, said, choose this day whom you will serve, whether the gods your father served on the other side of the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you now dwell.
Yeah.
So their fathers, their parents had served other gods.
We see that too in Judges chapter 2. In Judges chapter 2, verses 10 and 11, what you'll see is there was a generation that rose up before them that knew not God. And because of the generation that rose up before the generation that was there present, they didn't know the Lord. There was a generation that grew up without the Lord. Do we see that today in people's lives, like folks who are not, who you know, okay, maybe you know somebody whose family was raised in the church, but then somebody along the way changed the routine there and they fell away. And now the generations after that didn't know. Funny, but really cool thing that happened to me personally. I found out after becoming a Christian that my great grandfather was in fact raised in the church, but veered away. He married a Baptist. My family was once Christians and followed after the right thing. He married a Baptist and went to the Baptist church, and then that was 3 generations. We'll see, he raised up his kids, which was my grandfather, my mother, and then me. And my brother didn't know. We didn't know anything about the Church of Christ, the one that my family actually belonged to generations before. And so that verse, that's always been one that I remember. Judges chapter 2, verses 10 and 11. If we don't do what we're supposed to do now, they're not going to know what they need to know later. It's vital for us to be that example in our babies' lives. The book